The Lonesome Gas and Go was the only sign of civilization for 50 miles, its fluorescent canopy buzzing weakly against the 3 a.m. darkness. One side, Mike, the night attendant, was meticulously polishing the coffee machine's stainless steel drip tray. He wore thick glasses, a uniform that was slightly too large. He gave the impression of a man whose pulse rate never exceeded 60 BPM. 2 figures burst through the door, the bell above the entrance jangling violently. They wore ill-fitting ski masks and cheap nylon jackets. The taller one, Lou, slammed a rusty pistol onto the counter. "Open the register, old man, slow and easy." "Don't try anything," Lou barked. The gun was pointed directly at Mike's chest, though Lou's grip suggested a lack of experience. Mike stopped polishing. The cleaning rag remained clutched in his hand. He looked at their hands, specifically the way the fabric of the cheap gloves stretched tautly over the knuckles, revealing the tremors beneath. "Gentlemen, there's about $62 in singles and change in the till," Mike said softly, his voice wavering slightly, conveying the expected fear. "It's been a slow night. No trouble. Let's keep this simple." The second man, Ray, was jumpier, his eyes constantly flicking toward the road. He shoved a canvas duffel bag across the counter. "Fill the bag, everything. Lotto tickets, cigarettes, the whole damn thing. Move it, you old coot." Mike slowly reached for the register, but his eyes were darting, not out of fear, but observation, a rapid, involuntary sweep that took in particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, and trace contact points. The counter light reflected off a faint, dull, off-white residue caked into the weave of Lou's nylon jacket sleeve, especially near the shoulder. The air wasn't just tobacco and sweat. There was a sharp, acrid scent underlying the stale coffee smell, a scent Mike hadn't registered since he'd last walked through a controlled detonation site outside Quantico. Mike coughed lightly, drawing breath deeper into his lungs, enhancing his olfactory analysis. "Tell me, did you gentlemen recently spend time near a large commercial water reservoir, or perhaps a newly fertilized crop field, within the last day or two?" Lou glared, momentarily confused, the question derailing his rehearsed threat. "What the hell are you talking about? Just open the cash drawer before I blow your damn head off." "Because," Mike continued, his hands resting lightly on the register keys, "I can smell the chlorates, specifically sodium chlorate, and the faint, sweet, almond-like trace of nitroaromatics on your jackets. It's been about 12 to 18 hours since the exposure, judging by the rate of sublimation. That means you were handling the materials around 9 a.m. yesterday." He delicately pointed a finger at Ray's gloved hand. "And you, Ray, you have a distinct blue-green powder clinging to the synthetic stitching near your wrist. Copper 2 sulfate, highly pure, consistent with using it as a stabilizer or a desiccant when mixing a certain type of high-velocity compound. We called it blue lightning in the field. And if I look closely at your shoes, ... Mike leaned in, studying the edge of Lou's collar. "Ah, there it is. A dusting of faint, almost invisible, but undeniably pink, rhodamine B dye." The jumpiness drained out of Ray instantly, replaced by a cold, visceral terror. Lou lowered the gun slightly. Realizing the old man wasn't panicked, he was diagnosing them. Mike sighed, pushing his glasses up onto his forehead. The meek, elderly attendant was gone, replaced by a man whose entire demeanor shifted. exuding the cold, clinical confidence of someone who had seen and analyzed every kind of horror. "My name is Dr. Michael Renwick," he announced, his voice now clear and authoritative. "I didn't retire because I was old. I retired because I was tired of staring at dead bodies and inhaling the residual fumes of bad chemistry. I was the chief forensic chemist and director of the Explosives Trace Analysis Unit for the FBI's Counter-Terrorism division for 20 years. He gestured to the chemicals he had identified. "Chlorates, nitroaromatics, and the copper sulfate are standard, non-commercial components used in the fabrication of a certain type of unstable, high-yield ammonium nitrate explosive. This is the kind favored by a specific, well-funded domestic extremist cell operating out of the tri-state area. We designated the cell the Sons of Liberty, 1776, though they're neither sons nor particularly liberty-minded." Mike's eyes narrowed, focusing solely on Lou. "We know they're building something big. Your presence here, 200 miles from their known base, suggests a delivery, a staging, or perhaps a final assembly point for the device they've been planning for 18 months. Your plan was not to run the gas station, but to establish an alibi and ditch these clothes contaminated by the bomb-making process, thus breaking the forensic chain. But the rhodamine B dye," Mike continued, "that's the beauty of it, gentlemen. That's not part of the bomb. It is a microscopic, non-volatile chemical tag, a forensic signature, which my old unit applied to bulk ammonium nitrate precursors we allowed to leak into the gray market last year, precisely to track who was purchasing and handling the materials. We saturated the raw material with 200 parts per million of the dye. It is inert, harmless, and fluoresces violently under a 532 nanometers laser, but you can't wash it out of nylon or copper-based stabilizer residue." Lou's face, pale under the ski mask, twisted with total, gut-wrenching realization. They hadn't walked into a petty robbery. They had walked, covered in fluorescent forensic evidence, into the retired chief architect of the trap that was designed specifically for them. Mike gently pressed the hidden silent alarm button located discreetly behind the price check scanner. The button sent a coded silent ping to the county sheriff's department, upgrading the call from trespass to armed felony in progress. "Your attempted robbery, gentlemen, is a minor state charge, a 5-year sentence. Maybe less with a good public defender," Mike said with a note of sad finality. "But your involvement with that chemical signature, coupled with the trace elements found in the soil samples we collected last month from a warehouse complex near Syracuse, that's 30 to life, federal custody, under the most severe counter-terrorism statutes. Your little holdup just confirmed the location and identity of the men my former colleagues have been tracking for 6 months, and provided them with the definitive, irrefutable chain of custody linking the bomb precursor to the individuals handling the weapon." He stood back from the counter, folding his arms, the cleaning rag still clutched in one hand. "The local sheriff's deputy, Officer Reynolds, who is currently patrolling Sector Gamma, will be here in approximately 3 minutes. Following him closely will be a federal response team, likely 3 Hummers and an entire hazmat and evidence collection unit, who will be very, very interested in those jackets." Ray began whimpering, instinctively stepping back toward the exit. "Don't," Mike warned, his voice low and firm. "You can either wait quietly, allow me to write up a comprehensive chain of custody report on your attire, and the contents of that duffel bag, which, I assure you, contains more than just cigarettes. Or you can try running and add resisting arrest, flight from federal prosecution, and potential use of deadly force to your long list of federal charges. Given the amount of nitroaromatic contamination on Lou's cuff, I'd say running is a very bad chemical risk. Lou, the supposed leader, slowly lowered the Colt python until the barrel was pointing at the floor, the rust visible under the harsh fluorescent light. He knew his position was indefensible. The old man hadn't even needed a weapon. He had used chemistry and deduction to neutralize them more effectively than a platoon of SWAT officers. 3 minutes later, the distant winding howl of Officer Reynolds' siren began to penetrate the vast darkness. Mike walked calmly to the coffee machine, poured himself a fresh cup, and placed the cleaning rag neatly on the drip tray. He looked at the two defeated men who were now standing absolutely still, masks sagging, awaiting their fate. You know, Mike mused, sipping the hot, strong brew, the beauty of forensic chemistry, unlike most detective work, is that chemicals don't lie. They don't have ulterior motives, and they always obey the laws of physics. The rhodamine B is your confession, stamped indelibly on your clothing. Welcome to the lab. As the deputy's patrol car squealed to a stop outside, flashing red and blue across the gas station sign, Mike walked to the door, unlocking and opening it himself. He gave Officer Reynolds, a young, nervous man, a calm, reassuring smile. "Good morning, officer," Mike said. "I apologize for the disturbance. We have a couple of gentlemen in here who seem to have misplaced a rather substantial amount of explosive precursor materials. I've secured the evidence, initiated the federal hold, and they are currently awaiting transport. Please advise the responding agents to bring a containment suit and a 532-nanometer handheld laser, just to confirm the residual tagging." He stepped aside, ushering the deputy into the brightly lit, sterile environment of the convenience store, which had just been transformed from a roadside stop into a fully operational, high-security federal crime scene. The two masked men stood motionless by the counter, their attempted petty robbery swallowed whole by a far greater, far more terrifying chemical reality.